Genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, are now a cornerstone of modern agriculture. They are found in the majority of processed foods on supermarket shelves across the United States. While their creators promised they would feed the world and reduce the need for harsh chemicals, a different story has unfolded over the past few decades. It's a story that is less about innovation and more about the widespread use of a single, powerful herbicide. This hidden connection is central to understanding the growing concerns and controversy that surround the food we eat every single day, raising profound questions about what we are truly consuming. The vast majority of GMO crops planted in the United States share one specific genetic trait. They are not engineered for better nutrition or drought resistance. Instead, they are designed to survive being sprayed with glyphosate, the active ingredient in herbicides like Roundup. Over 90% of the corn and soy grown in America are now Roundup ready. This has inextricably linked GMOs to this chemical. Since these crops were first introduced in 1996, the use of glyphosate has skyrocketed. As a direct result, American exposure to this chemical has surged by an alarming 500%, creating an unprecedented, long-term public health experiment with little oversight. This chemical is no longer just on the fields. It is inside our bodies. The evidence of this widespread contamination is undeniable and deeply troubling for families. A landmark 2022 study conducted by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention delivered a shocking verdict on our exposure levels. Researchers analyzed urine samples from a cross-section of the American population and found glyphosate in over 80% of them, including those from children. The chemical that was once confined to farms has now permeated our food supply and our very physiology, a silent guest at the dinner table. The presence of glyphosate is not limited to a few specific products. It has been detected in a startling array of common foods that many people consider healthy. The Food and Drug Administration has found residues in 63% of corn samples and 67% of soybean samples. But the contamination goes further, showing up in breakfast cereals, oatmeals, honey, and even in baby foods. This reality has forced medical professionals to take notice. In January 2024, the American Academy of Pediatrics took the significant step of advising its members to discuss avoiding GMOs and glyphosate with the families they care for, signaling a major shift in institutional concern. The most terrifying risk associated with glyphosate is its connection to cancer. This is not a fringe theory, it is a conclusion reached by top cancer scientists. In 2015, the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer classified glyphosate as probably carcinogenic to humans. Since then, the scientific evidence has only grown stronger. A March 2025 study, for instance, found that even very low doses of Roundup could alter critical breast cancer genes. Other research from 2023 has reinforced the link between glyphosate exposure and an increased risk of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, the very cancer at the center of tens of thousands of lawsuits against its manufacturer. Beyond cancer, a wave of recent studies has painted a grim picture of glyphosate's impact on nearly every system in the human body. The brain and nervous system appear particularly vulnerable. Research from late 2024 showed that the chemical causes significant brain inflammation in animal models, a condition linked to devastating neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Other studies have connected it directly to nerve damage in adults and have raised serious concerns about its effect on the brain development of children. These findings suggest that the consequences of glyphosate exposure could span a lifetime, affecting cognitive health from infancy to old age. Our vital organs are also at risk. Multiple studies now show a strong association between glyphosate levels and markers of liver and kidney damage, especially in children. A 2025 review suggested the chemical could significantly raise the risk of metabolic liver disease, a growing epidemic. At the same time, our reproductive health and hormonal balance are being disrupted. Research unveiled in early 2025 linked glyphosate to female hormone disruption, ovarian damage, and conditions like PCOS and infertility. For men, the chemical has been found concentrated in seminal plasma, where it negatively impacts sperm, threatening the very foundation of future generations. The gut microbiome, an ecosystem of bacteria essential for digestion and immunity, is another casualty. A systematic review in 2024 concluded that glyphosate can damage the delicate lining of the gut and throw its bacterial balance into disarray. This disruption may contribute to inflammatory conditions like Crohn's disease. The problem is fundamental. One study found that over half of all human gut bacteria species are sensitive to glyphosate. This means that the herbicide in our food could be systematically dismantling our internal defenses, leaving us more susceptible to a host of chronic illnesses and weakening our overall health from the inside out. While the dangers of glyphosate are clear, some concerns are tied directly to the genetic modification process itself. One such risk is the potential for new or heightened allergies. The act of inserting foreign genes into a plant can create novel proteins that the human body has never encountered before. The Food and Drug Administration itself acknowledges that proteins from common allergens like milk, soy, or nuts could be unintentionally transferred into other foods through genetic engineering. This raises the alarming possibility that a person could have a severe allergic reaction to a food that was previously safe for them to eat, with no easy way of knowing what has changed. Another significant worry is the link between certain GMOs and the rise of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. During the development of some genetically modified plants, scientists use marker genes to see if the genetic modification was successful. Often these marker genes are coded for antibiotic resistance. The concern shared by many scientists is that these genes could transfer from the food we eat to the bacteria living in our gut. This could contribute to the creation of superbugs that are resistant to essential medical treatments, undermining one of the most important tools of modern medicine and making common infections potentially deadly. Perhaps the most pervasive issue is the simple fact that we do not know the long-term consequences of a GMO-based diet. These foods have only been a major part of our food supply for a few decades, a mere blink of an eye in human history. There have been no comprehensive, multi-generational studies on their impact on human health. This profound lack of long-term data creates a landscape of scientific uncertainty. Without that essential research, we are all participating in an uncontrolled experiment. This uncertainty is a key reason why so many people remain deeply distrustful of assurances that these products are completely safe. This public distrust is magnified by the behavior of the companies that produce GMOs and the agencies that regulate them. For years, regulatory bodies like the EPA have been heavily criticized for relying on flawed, outdated, and industry-funded science to approve these products. Internal documents, revealed through lawsuits, have shown how corporations like Monsanto, now owned by Bayer, actively work to manipulate scientific research, ghostwrite studies, and discredit independent scientists. When the public sees that the approval process may be built on a foundation of corporate influence rather than impartial science, their trust is understandably shattered. The growing body of evidence against GMOs and glyphosate has not gone unnoticed by the rest of the world. Many countries are taking a much more cautious approach than the United States. Dozens of nations across the globe, including many in the European Union, have banned or placed severe restrictions on the cultivation and sale of GMO foods. They often require mandatory labeling, giving consumers the right to choose what they eat, a right not afforded to Americans in a clear and consistent way. This global divide highlights that there is no international consensus on the safety of these products. A powerful example of this pushback comes from Mexico, the birthplace of corn. Citing concerns for public health and the protection of its thousands of native corn varieties from genetic contamination, the Mexican government issued a decree in 2023 to ban GMO corn for human consumption and completely phase out the use of glyphosate. The United States government challenged this decision, leading to a major trade dispute. While a tribunal partially sided with the United States in late 2024, it critically upheld Mexico's right to protect its native corn and to continue its phase-out of glyphosate, affirming that sovereign nations have the right to prioritize their citizens' health. The concerns are not just coming from governments. They are echoed by parents, consumers, and health advocates who are increasingly skeptical of corporate promises. They see a food system dominated by a few chemical companies that profit from both the patented seeds and the herbicides they are designed to withstand. This model seems to prioritize profits over public well-being and environmental stewardship. As a result, a powerful movement has grown around the demand for natural, organic, and non-GMO foods, reflecting a fundamental desire to return to a diet that is less processed and free from synthetic chemicals. Ultimately, the story of GMOs is a cautionary tale about the rush to adopt new technologies without fully understanding their consequences. The link to glyphosate, the mounting evidence of serious health risks, the regulatory failures, and the global backlash all point to one conclusion. We must proceed with extreme caution. The long-term health of our children and our planet is at stake. Until there is independent, long-term research that proves these products are safe beyond any doubt, many people will continue to believe that the potential dangers of GMOs far outweigh any of their purported benefits, choosing instead the time-tested safety of natural food.